What are guaranteed hours anyway? By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what they are, why you should want them, and why they often get confused with banking hours. If we haven't met before, I'm Michelle, founder of the Nanny Solution by Nannies on Call. Each week, I bring you new videos to educate and inspire you to get better jobs, make more money, and become leaders in the industry. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing and liking this video. It really helps us out and it helps other nannies see the video more often as well. Let's get right to it. Simply put, guaranteed hours means you will be paid as long as you're available to work during your normal working hours. For example, mom tells you that she doesn't need you on Friday afternoon because she's coming home from work and she'll take care of the kids. In that case, you would be compensated for your time. Another example that we hear all the time is grandma's coming to town and so we don't need you next week at all. If you have guaranteed hours in your contract, this means that even though they don't need you next week when grandma's in town, you will be paid for that time. But nannies are not paid for their guaranteed time if they choose not to work. And this is where it gets a little bit confusing. If mom says to you, I'm coming home from work early on Friday and you're welcome to leave if you'd like. That means that she's not giving you the time off unpaid, she's giving you the choice of whether you want to work or not. So in this case, if you choose to leave early on Friday, you will not be compensated for your time. Another example might be, dad says he's working from home on Thursday, and if you want to take a day off to have a break, you're more than welcome to. In this case, he's giving you the choice. So these hours would not be compensated under guaranteed hours. I know it seems like there's really just a slight difference here, and there is, and that's why it's important to understand. The difference is, are you willing and able to work? If you are, it falls under guaranteed hours. If you're choosing not to come into work or take an unpaid day, then that falls outside of guaranteed hours and you won't be compensated. What do you do if you don't want to take the time off? This is often maybe even where families get guaranteed hours confused and nannies get them confused. So you want to be really clear. If dad says to you, I'm going to be working from home on Thursday. If you'd like to take the day off, you're more than welcome to. And you don't want to take the unpaid day and you want to get paid for your time, what you can say is something like, I appreciate the offer. However, I'm not interested in taking any unpaid time off at this time. I'm more than happy to come in if you'd like me to. Otherwise, I can take the day off under our guaranteed hours agreement. Let me know what you'd like me to do. That way, it's putting it back on them, telling them you understand that it falls under the guaranteed hours, that you don't really want the time off. Now, of course, if they say take Thursday off and you want Thursday off and you don't mind if you don't get paid because you need a break, that's totally acceptable. You just need to know how it falls under guaranteed versus not guaranteed hours based on your choice and your ability to work. Now, something else that happens is guaranteed hours often get confused with banking hours. Banking hours, I think we've seen a lot more in the past, and at the agency, we do not recommend it for several reasons. Here's what banking hours looks like. You work Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, and mom and dad don't need you Thursday and Friday. So that's 16 hours, but they still pay you for the week, okay? So they pay you like you worked all week, but now you owe them 16 hours of work. So then in future days, or maybe next weekend, they ask you to work a Saturday 9 to 5, or they ask you to babysit a couple nights a week. The reason we don't recommend this is because the nanny gets into debt with the family and it's literally hanging over your head. So 2 days, 16 hours might not seem like a lot, but month after month, if one of the parents comes home early and then another parent comes home early and then grandma comes to town, before you know it, you owe the family 40 hours of work and it's hanging over your head. And when you're already working full time, that's a lot of hours to make up at some point. What we've seen happen in the past is nannies owe the family because they banked hours, let's just say 20 hours. Christmas comes around, the parents want to do shopping, they have lots of Christmas parties and events, and the next thing you know, you're babysitting every night between now and Christmas, and you have your own Christmas shopping parties and events to go to. So you never want to get in the point where you're in the hole. That said, You do want to be flexible with the family. So if you don't have guaranteed hours in your contract and you have been banking hours, maybe you want to agree that you can bank up to, or the family can bank up to 4, 6, 8 hours, and that it has to be used in the next pay period. So you don't want to bank hours for months at a time because they tend to add up and then you owe the family too much. The other problem with banking hours, and maybe it's not a problem for you, but it does get to be an argument at the end, is if the nanny is fired or quits and they owe the family 20, 40, 60 hours of work, the family often thinks they can take that off their final pay, which is not legal, at least in Canada, I will say. So you don't want to do that because now the families, if you leave, they're going to have a really bad feeling like you owe them, and you don't owe them. So that takes us back to guaranteed hours. A, you want to make sure it's in your contract. B, if it is in your contract already, make sure it says guaranteed hours within the nanny's normal work schedule. What does that mean? It means that if you work Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, the guaranteed hours are during that time. What happens sometimes is, again, people confuse it a little bit with banking hours, but they might say, okay, we need you Monday to Thursday, and then can you babysit this week on Saturday instead of working Friday? That does not fall during your normal working schedule. So you want to make sure that that's in your contract so it's not a confusion later, because they think guaranteed hours means giving you 40 hours to work a week, and they feel they gave you 40 hours. That's not how it works. During your normal working hours. This is very important. Be sure you have guaranteed hours in your contract. All agencies I know have them in their contract, so if you've worked with an agency, chances are you have it in there. If you're not working with an agency and you're going it alone, be sure to look for it or be sure to add it yourself. It's definitely an important part, and it's something we see come up constantly in terms of confusion and moving nanny schedule, and it's not fair to the nanny. It's not fair to you outside your life and your work schedule. You have to have work-life balance too, and this is a really important part. Now, I do want to give one bonus tip. There does need to be some flexibility, just like in every job, whether you're nannying or working in an office, there's some flexibility there. So if you work for an amazing family who once every 6 months asks you if you can work on a Friday night instead of Friday morning, you may want to do that. So you don't have to be so stuck to the rules. It's just so that you're not taken advantage of and you're setting boundaries. That's what this is for. Being flexible is a great nanny quality, so go for it. I totally support that. Just make sure your boundaries are set up and you understand what guaranteed hours are, what falls under guaranteed hours for you, what it means when you make the choice not to come in, and what that means to your final paycheck. Nannies rely on guaranteed hours for a reliable paycheck, and that's all there is to it. Hopefully that made sense. It wasn't too rambly. Check out these other videos if you want more information on being a great nanny, and we'll see you next Saturday.